So, Monday, our first episode we dropped this week, we talked about Andor 456.
Right.
And how we definitely didn't hate it, but it just wasn't on the level of 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
Well, man, can I not wait for next Monday? Because I don't want to give it away, but let's just say that they made up for any transgressions from the previous week.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that has me excited.
Yeah, I think it's kind of maybe something like and we starting off strong here today. It's like you're like about to bust, and so you slow down.
Yeah.
Maybe I think that might have been what happened.
Okay.
Because they were like, oh, not yet. We got 9 more.
Yeah.
We got 9 more.
Yeah.
Sometimes
you got to pull out and figure some other shit out to do.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta
use your hands. A little bit of razzle dazzle.
Yeah. Sometimes you ain't trying to take it home just yet.
Yeah.
You enjoying yourself. You enjoying your evening. Maybe dinner was expensive, and you're like,
Sometimes you just got shit to do, though.
No, that's true too. Yeah. But I guess if you have maybe 12 hours, then
God damn.
maybe you don't. maybe hours 4, 5, or 6 ain't really where you want to.
No, hours 2, 3, and 4 ain't gonna be worth shit.
Yeah. If the hour mark runs over, like if that shit ticks to 60, then you might as well just go ahead and call 911.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Someone is going there. Probably both.
Both of us, and at least one of us is being assaulted if it's going on that long. There's no fucking way.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
But I digress. I'm very hyped to review that on Monday. So as bad as this might end up being here tonight, there is some light ahead.
Speaking of light being ahead, man, we have a month and a half, 2 months before our July movie review kickoff starts.
We have got to finish the last 2 Fantastic Fours before July, because July is going to be like a blockbuster tentpole movie every week just about.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild July. So from the new Jurassic World movie to Superman to Fantastic Four. I mean, it's just going to be go, go, go. And, man, in a perfect world, all of these movies would be phenomenal, and I would have no notes. But we live in this world, so we're going to see what happens.
I just really hope that, no matter what happens with Superman, I hope that with Superman, James Gunn is able to do what he did with the Guardians, and to a lesser extent, but still very successful, the Suicide Squad. And that he can make this movie where maybe not 100% of it is for me. I don't need that. But it would just feel nice to have one of these movies, especially a DC property, that has a actual vision.
Yeah.
And doesn't just feel like some corporate slop. Because as much as I disagree with a lot of things that Zack Snyder did, I mean, don't get me wrong, if there's anybody here that's going to stand for Zack Snyder, it's not me. I like a lot of his work, but pretty much everything he did with the DCEU, I disagreed with. But at least when Snyder was putting out Man of Steel, which I cannot stand, you felt like it was a director executing on a vision.
Yeah.
Right? And then you fast forward to an Aquaman 2, which feels like a, movie by committee.
Paint by numbers type thing.
Lowest common denominator.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. It's easier for me to say because I am more of a Snyder fan. I don't love everything he's done, but I find a lot of joy in a lot of things he did.
Nobody likes Sucker Punch.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he likes Sucker Punch. But,
anybody who's a Zack Snyder fan, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I actually really love Zack Snyder." I'd be like, "Even Sucker Punch?" They'd be like, "Nah."
Yeah, well, come on. You
get one.
Yeah, everyone gets one. Yeah, but I do agree, man. Like it, and that's kind of one of the travesties that like the hardcore Snyder fans still talk about to this day is the fact that Snyder, he did have a kind of a 3-step vision of his that he wanted to execute, and at one point he was told he was going to be able to, and then very quickly thereafter he was told, "Nah, dog," and then a bunch of other shit happened, and like how that would have turned out, we'll never know. But at the very least, it would have been like a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end,
right?
Versus what we got with the DCEU, which was just what can we do to try to make up the space, the distance between DC and Marvel, and let's fuck it up every step of the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is really what they did.
Let's rush to Justice League. Mm-hmm. I think if the Snyder Cut had hit theaters instead of the Justice League, I think it makes $1 billion.
I think so too. I think, man, and hopefully in a perfect world that would have changed like the execs who were in charge. I'm not saying change like who's in charge, but it would change their perspective, and maybe they would stop hitting the oh shit panic button every 5 seconds that caused them to, let's fire Zack Snyder and let's hire Joss Whedon to finish the job, and then just put out a bunch of random assortment of movies. Maybe they're connected, maybe they're not. Maybe they'll tie into something, probably not. And really, that's what we end up getting with the DCEU. And the worst part of it is that if DC at that time, if they wanted to put out a bunch of movies that weren't connected, that weren't really part of a shared universe, I don't like that. But if they all tell their own unique stories and they're all really cool, fascinating looks at these heroes and their lore and their rogues galleries, let's do it. But that's not what we got either.
No. As a matter of fact, I am a detractor of Snyder's in terms of like some of the stuff he made, like did and decisions he made. Mm-hmm. But the facts are that when Snyder was putting the films out, they were making money. And then they people hated them, but the people were still going to see it. And I think if the Snyder Cut comes out and people see that end credit scene, there's no way they don't come back. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, man. I feel like people were still flocking to theaters to see it. Batman vs Superman had a lot of problems. We've gone over those a million times, but like people were still making money. And I feel like after they did the whole Justice League thing and people saw what a like corporate slop nothing burger that movie turned out to be, it's freaking terrible. Yeah, man, it's just you kind of sit back and look at it, and you're like, "Yeah, I know, you guys didn't like the product that was being put out, but you had no backup. You didn't have a let's pivot to this.
Yeah,
it was like let's just try to Marvelize this as much as we possibly can. Let's get the guy that directed the 2 Avengers movies. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, that's literally what they did. They sat around in a boardroom and said, "We need someone who's like Joss Whedon," and then someone piped up and said, "Let's just get Joss Whedon."
Yeah. Like as if he was like the magic behind all of that, But he really was. I mean,
I can see at that time them having the assumption
sure
that he was the guy who made all that happen.
Yeah, I could see that. Because they were like, well, Kevin Feige's just a producer. It can't be him.
Well.
But, yeah, man.
We say all that to say that, with James Gunn's Superman movie, this has the opportunity to be the beginning of something that has legs, that has its own universe, that has its own feel, and there's no two ways about it. There's a lot riding on this movie.
Yes, there's a lot riding on it, and I just hope the WB does not have this crazy knee-jerk reaction, one way or the other. Right? Like if it's successful, I hope they're not like, let's churn out a Superman trilogy, real quick. I just kind of want them to let James Gunn and Peter Safran do their thing, execute on this slate that they've got, and then go forward with it. Fantastic Four, I am way less concerned about than I was. I'm still concerned, but it does feel a lot like regardless of whether people think Thunderbolts is a perfect movie, I don't think really anybody does. But like audiences are really loving it. It has like a 96% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. It feels Thunderbolts, regardless of how you feel about the movie itself, it feels like the MCU is back. You know, it really just it feels like it belongs in one of the first 3 phases, as opposed to like kind of what we've been getting. And I think some direction for the MCU is what people really wanted. And I think the Russos kind of told them that too when they reached out, like, hey, can you guys make your magic work again? And they were like, well, you can't fuck around until Doomsday. Yeah. And then we just make something out of nothing. Like Infinity War was so amazing because they had everything that led up to it. You know?
I mean, yeah, the Russos had direction.
Yeah.
Like, the MCU was heading in a certain direction. And hell, there was a time when the MCU wasn't heading in any particular direction, really.
Yeah.
And then when they tried to pivot, they still were. There was a time where like it just wasn't fun to be a comic book movie fan.
Yeah.
You know. But now it seems that maybe we are on the path of things being fun again, and it being cool to be a superhero fan again.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
it kind of felt like. Well, I can't. I don't want to spoil that yet. It's not like the asterisk where Marvel spoiled it. But check out our Thunderbolts review, folks. Yes. But yeah, all of those things coming together, and like this maybe being the best superhero movie, the best year for superhero movies since 2019. I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
And that might be the last time you hear me describe myself as being really happy tonight.
You know, when you think about like the best year for superhero movies, man, that's tough. For me, it might be maybe 2018. 2018, we got Black Panther, we got Spider-Verse, and of course we got Infinity War.
Yeah, that's hard to argue with.
I'm trying to think of like some other really good years. And it's interesting because like since Endgame, it's like there'll be 4 shitty superhero movies and then one that's like, oh man, that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's tough. I don't know. 2016 was really nice, but also that's when we got Justice League. So.
Oh wow, that brings it down. You know.
It does.
That couldn't have been 2016, right? Because that's when we got BVS.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah. So what was that? 2018 also. So that brings yours down.
Oh wow, was that 2018?
I
guess it must have been. Shit.
The list I'm looking at sucks. So I'm gonna pop over here to IMDb. I trust them usually.
There's no way they turned around and released that in 2017, so it had to have been, I guess, 2018.
Yeah, and there's no way that came out in 2019, right? I mean,
yeah, that feels also
that would be wrong. Let's see. This only goes up to 2016, but yeah, that's when we got Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
But yeah, this only goes up to 2016. It definitely wasn't 2015.
No.
2014 was a contender.
What was 2014?
Because we got 300, we got Days of Future Past, and we got Guardians of the Galaxy, and we got Winter Soldier.
Yeah, 2014 was strong.
Yeah, strong.
That 300 sequel, you mean, right?
Yeah. Which I don't. Like, I feel like that movie, I feel like people don't hate it, but I do feel like it was forgotten. Like,
it came and went.
Yeah, it was like, it came out and people were like, and then they were like, you know, maybe we only needed 2 hours of this and not 4.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, homies, we know you guys are here for a very specific infected reason. So
that's right.
We'll go ahead and get into that. But first, proper introductions are in order. So with that being said, homies one and all, welcome back to a very special episode of the Superhero Homies Podcast. My name is Quentin, and as always, I am here with the world's greatest co-host and the man who has been bitten several times by infected, but come to find out he's also immune.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I'm referring to none other than the homie Caleb.
What's going on, folks? I am like, I might be in a rare form tonight, either for better or worse, folks, because I am on
ketamine.
No, okay. But I feel like it though, because I'm gonna tell you, every now and then, and I'm not trying to hype it up in advance, but every now and then you watch something or experience something and you just like can't get your mind off it. You're just like, this was fucking incredible. That is what I had on my television last night, and I'm very excited about it, and I can't wait till next week to talk to you about it. But the other thing that was on my TV this week was episode 4 of season 2 of The Last of Us.
Yes.
And that is our subject matter here tonight. We are going to be covering episodes 1 through 4 of season 2 of The Last of Us TV show. Probably full spoilers for those 4 episodes, and I would also say probably full spoilers for the game up to the point we are in the show as well, even though that might be kind of a murky concept.
It would be a little murky. There will be just a small spoiler-filled section at the end of this episode.
Yeah, we'll have a little section at the end. We'll warn you, and we'll just go full tilt. Fuck it.
Yeah.
When we speculate.
And also rant even more, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah, man, so you actually have a lot more history with these games than I do. I am very much... I feel like there's 3 camps with people who... Well, with The Last of Us, right? I think there's people who are full tilt, like they love both games, swear by them, right? We didn't have representation from that group here tonight. Then there's like people who think the first game is like amazing, but don't care for the second one. Exhibit A.
That's me.
And then there's people like myself who I recognize that the first game, I think the first game is also overrated as a game, but I don't think it's like super overrated. I just feel like people think it's a 10, but I think it's like an 8.5 or whatever, which is great. It's still a great game, but I just am not like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And then I care for the second one even less. So.
Yeah, and it's like it's so interesting being a Last of Us fan in that second camp you made mention of, the one who is a really big fan of the first game, and really not a fan hardly at all of the sequel, because I feel that every time that's brought up, people like to really be dismissive.
Right.
The people who really enjoy the second game and that story and whatnot. Hey, listen, superhero homie rule number 10, love what you love. You don't need anyone's permission to enjoy something. But the caveat to that rule is you can't ignore that thing's flaws.
Right.
And I think that's really where a lot of people fuck up at with the second game, is kind of ignoring some of its flaws. First and foremost, when that first trailer dropped for the sequel, it was about 2 years before part 2 actually came out.
Right, because there was a big delay, right?
Big delay, yeah. It was like, shit, it was actually like 2017 when that first trailer dropped, and then the game came out in 2020. But
the game industry was doing a lot of that shit back then.
Right.
Like, the first Cyberpunk trailer, I think, dropped in like 2013 or some shit like that.
And then look at what we got.
Yeah.
Not what we have now, but when they came out.
And then 7 years later, we got like a shitty beta test. Great game now, though.
Yeah.
Really enjoy it now.
Exactly. But when that first trailer dropped for Last of Us Part 2, the consensus was, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. Like, we can tell Ellie's on a warpath, and I need you guys to hear this part. This is very important. We all collectively speculated Joel's going to die, and Ellie's going to be on the warpath for revenge. And we were all hyped for it. The reason I need you guys to hear that is because whenever you hear someone say, I don't enjoy The Last of Us Part 2, they say, oh, you just upset because Joel died. That's a completely false narrative.
Yeah, I feel like it would be really difficult to straight face look at anybody who really loved the first game and then have them pretend that person thinks that characters in this world have plot armor. Because the first game demonstrates to you extensively, and even the first season of the television show demonstrates to you extensively, no one has plot armor.
Yeah.
No one. I think it was earlier today, somebody, I was talking to somebody online, and they were like, yeah, I'll live. And so I put the little gif of Ellie and what's the little the deaf kid from season 1?
Sam?
Yeah, Sam.
Yeah.
Of Ellie and Sam doing the endure and survive thing. I was like, please disregard the fact that one of them dies right after this.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I mean, if they will kill a cute deaf kid, they'll kill anybody.
Yeah.
And I don't think it has anything to do with Joel dying as a concept. Right? Like, that makes sense for him to die and then for Ellie to kind of go forward. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of people expected Kratos to die in God of War 2, in Ragnarok. And I think a lot of people would have still really loved that game if that had been how it played out. It's not about, it's about sending people on these character journeys, and sometimes that involves death. Yep. If you're George R. R. Martin, it's every time.
Right.
That's the only kind of journey there is.
I was talking to a friend of mine earlier, actually, about Sinners.
Yeah.
And, we both really enjoyed the movie. But I was like, okay, she didn't have a problem with the ending, but it was one of those things where I think she wanted a happier ending, but I was like, the thing of it is that it doesn't have to be a happy ending for it to be a good ending.
Right. I don't really want to spoil anything here, because if you haven't seen that movie, you should go into it with the least amount of knowledge possible and check out our review.
Yes.
The lowest score on our review that we did was a 9.4. Yeah. Incredible. I mean, it's my movie of the year.
So I don't know what's going to beat it. It's going to be hard.
It's going to be tough. Either Superman or Fantastic Four is going to have to
but if neither one of those
really go out on it. Mm-hmm. What if the new Jurassic World was just this amazing just thriller,
Bro, I would need you and whoever else is on the podcast to just fill in, because I would be speechless.
Yeah, we just be like,
shit's amazing.
Yeah, shit's amazing, dog. 11 out of 10. I don't know. I'm out. I'm about to go watch it again. Peace. Fucking 25-second movie review. Yeah, man. I don't know. I think it has to be one of those. Mm-hmm. And unless there's just something out of left field, right, that comes out, because the Odyssey is next year, right?
Yeah.
Because the Odyssey, that shit is going to be crazy. But I think Ryan Coogler, man, I think he really knocked it out of the park with this one. Box office, critical reception, audience reception, the trifecta, But the thing about Sinners, though, one of the central themes of it is that the lifestyle that arguably the main character pursues has a cost.
Yeah.
And so it very much makes sense for that to be the ending. I think that was one of the happier possible endings.
I agree.
Yeah. Great movie. Go check it out.
Absolutely.
But speaking of happy endings, or rather things that aren't going to have them.
Yes. So The Last of Us Part 2. I was just playing the game when you came in.
You were.
And, as I was telling you, I looked at my old save file and I saw that the last time I played this game was July 16th, 2020. So I beat the game and then promptly deleted it from my PlayStation and cleansed it. I had to experience that story in its fullest to see, okay, is this really what the internet claims it is? And I mean, wow, it was a journey. But, right off the bat, I realized I had confirmation about something that I thought could have been true, but now, for me, I think it's definitively true. I can't believe I'm saying this, man, but I think that somehow so far, the game is actually better than the TV show for the second season / game.
I'm kind of there with you. I only played the game. So I got to the Joel death, and then I realized how much time they wanted me to spend with Abby.
Yeah.
And then I just DNF'd that and just read what happened because I was like, I can't do that. I don't care about this. I got shit to do. You know.
I think that's one place where the TV show can definitely pick up space where the game left, because that was just such a huge fuck up.
Yeah.
You know.
You notice the TV show, we have spent no time with Abby, really.
Yeah.
She has maybe, 10 minutes of screen time total?
At most. And then the introduction of Abby was interesting in the show. And truth be told, like, I want to make this very clear. Like, the concept of this story as a whole has so many fucking holes and problems that it would take me all day to just list them all. But if you're going to try to tell a story like this, the game actually does it better because you don't know who this person is when you first meet Abby in the game. Whereas in the show, when you first see Abby, you understand that, okay, this is who she is. You see like the wolf patch, and you know that, okay, she's on the warpath. You know who she's looking for and why she's looking for him, for Joel.
Yep.
Whereas in the game, you know, you're playing as Abby, and then you're just overran by these, you know, group of infected, and then out of nowhere you're saved by Joel. Still contrived like it is in the show.
Right.
But at least in the show they do explain that Joel and Tommy were out on patrol, and then, you know, shit hits the fan. And then
You mean in the game, you mean?
yeah, in the game, yep. And then in the game, you know, you are, I mean, if you didn't see the leaks, which it was hard to not see the leaks when they dropped back in the day, but if you didn't see the leaks for the game, you're just playing it as an average player, you're just as blindsided as Joel is when, you know, shit hits the fan with Abby.
Right.
And you're like, what in the fuck is going on? And then, you know, if you're a fan of Joel, which all players are, they rip your heart out, and then, you know, the game proceeds. And, like, again, if you're going to do that, then the game actually, I think, presented that in a much better way. It was more brutal. It was more shocking. It was more out of nowhere. We didn't know who she was or what her purpose was until that moment. And then she fucking disappears. Whereas in the show, they introduce us to the character and to her crew, to Abby, that is, and her crew. And, you know, they get the elements of the death right, but it feels like it has none of the... It doesn't have the same impact, and maybe that's because I knew what was going to happen going into it, but it felt like it was a lighter, slightly softer version of the death for me.
See, for me in the show, it feels lazy, and because like in the show, it's like there's no intrigue to it really, right? It's you start out like this at the beginning of the season with them. You find out who they are, why they're pissed, you know, what they aim to do, and then within 2 episodes they do it.
Yeah.
And it feels so contrived because it's like, it's not really necessarily like a Mary Sue situation because it's not like Abby is super capable.
Right.
It's just like, may the plot be with you.
Yeah.
Where it's just like things just bend perfectly to this, you know, situation where it's like, okay, well, we're going to go to this town and we're going to fucking kill this guy who is... You know, the same guy that just murdered, like, all of our parents and shit. Now, obviously, they go and get training, and we don't really know about that until later.
Yep.
But, okay, they get there, and they see the town of Jackson, and they're thinking that it's like some fucking teepees. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, maybe 30 people live here.
Right.
No, dog, there ain't no tents here. This is a city with electricity and patrols and structure and a big-ass wall. So it's like, oh, shit, man, how are we going to get in there? And within moments, oh, well, there's a big-ass storm, and it's out of nowhere. And it just so happens that Joel happens to be out on patrol, the one guy they're looking for.
Yep.
And he just so happens to stumble across them.
Yep.
You know? And then he just so happens to agree to come hang out with them. Joel, the guy who is always well known for trusting strangers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He loves trusting strangers more than anything.
Yeah.
That's his favorite thing in the world, actually.
Yeah.
He's trusting and helping strangers.
Yeah, any true fan of the first game or the first season of the show would know that.
Yeah. You know, and that's how he survived, those 20 years in the apocalypse is by trusting and befriending strange people.
That's right. And he just puts himself in this situation where it just doesn't, I mean, even if you just shut your mind off and ignore how contrived all this is, I will say that I did enjoy the actual act of it, like the dialogue between them. I liked the brutality of the actual death scene. I thought was maybe more brutal than the game.
You think so?
Not from a gore type sense, because like in the game, man, she beats him to death.
Yeah.
But the way that they did the sound editing and everything, where like Ellie is like sitting there and like Joel is still alive, and she like slowly just sticks the broken club into the back of his neck, and the way they did this, where like all the sound falls out right of the scene, and you just hear Joel, that last breath escape out of Joel's mouth, and then Ellie's reaction. I thought that was masterful. That like just those aspects of it.
I think one thing that's kind of minor, but also kind of not, that took me out of that scene, and this is going to be, I think, something that's going to be kind of a recurring problem, and that is the actress that plays Abby. I think that she's doing great with what she has, for sure. Like, I believe it when she delivers her lines.
Yeah.
I think that like her physical mannerisms are all on point. But I'm sorry, like it was just, it wasn't laughable, but it was smirk worthy when she would put down the club and she's just punching Joel, and I'm like, I don't believe those punches at all.
No.
Whereas, Abby Zilla in the game, and I don't know who her workout partners are, but they got some kind of crazy equipment going on in the games. Say what you will about Abby Zilla, if that bitch would have hit me, I'd go down.
Yeah. I gotta say too, like, it does look ridiculous in the show when she's does the ground pound. It just doesn't. It doesn't look convincing. I think that's why we don't see a lot of the beating.
Yeah.
We get the still effective. She picks up the golf club, and then like later we see that she actually broke it off, like hitting him with it or whatever. And I mean, Joel looked completely fucked up. I mean, they did a good job on that.
Yeah.
And like the only thing that sells this is Bella Ramsey. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like the way she reacted to it was perfect to me.
Yeah, no, I liked her reaction here to this scene, because it was very much on par with with what we got in the video games. Just that raw anger and sadness and grief kind of all rolled into one. Speaking of Bella, I think that she's gonna have a much harder job this season overall.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of that for me is in episode 4. I know we're just kind of jumping around here, but in episode 3 and to an extent, but like 4, it's like really bad, where she's just kind of season 1 Ellie for a lot of this.
Yeah,
she doesn't consistently play that, like and don't get me wrong, it's not like because a person is upset about something they have to be enraged about it all the time.
Right.
Like, it's like if I had a bad day at work today, like if I'm just sitting here chilling talking with you, I still had a bad day at work. I don't got to be like, oh, I had a terrible day for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? But like for someone whose entire life, like they have literally thrown away their veil of safety.
Yep.
Their partner now that is here is pregnant, right? Any semblance of a life that you may have left, you are willing to throw it away so that you can kill this person.
Yeah.
And like the show doesn't do a good job of showing this, but like because they like fast travel to Seattle.
Yeah.
They fucking walked.
Yeah.
Well, rode.
Uh-huh.
Hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
Hundreds of miles. In the apocalypse.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what season it is. That's fucking terrible.
Mm-hmm.
They ate whatever they could get a hold of. Like, they suffered to make this journey. Like, for hate to be the only thing that is pushing you, that's a lot of fucking hate you gotta have. And by like 5 minutes into episode 4, they're just like, oh yeah, man, it's cool to be here in Seattle.
Yeah.
You think they got any postcards left?
and by the way, Caleb, like what you just said is the crutch of what the story is dependent on.
Yeah. If I don't believe that Ellie is so blinded by rage that she would do all this shit, this falls apart real fast.
It does, man. And I'm really gonna need them to crank that up, like 06 Soldier Boy. But we're definitely talking more about this in the spoiler field section. But I have an idea of where they're going to end this season, and I'm really curious to see like how this show is going to display that. Either way, it's going to be great. It's either going to be spot on, gruesome, and brutal, or it's going to be laughable. Either way, I'm going to have a fun time watching it. But the way that they start this season, it was a pretty slow burn, that episode 1. I don't know anyone who absolutely truly loved episode 1 of season 2, but man, it took its time.
I remember messaging you and just being like, "Hey man, you watched Last of Us yet?" And you were like, "No, why?" And I was like, "They're only doing 7 episodes, right?" And you were like, "Yeah," and I was like, well, I want to know why they put an episode of filler at the beginning then. Is this like the preseason? Like the real season starts next week or?
Nope.
Yeah, this first episode, I haven't seen it. I saw it twice. Like I watched it and then I watched it again right before the second episode came out. And I have a real hard time telling you most of what happened because not much happened.
Not much happens, bro. It's, it's just like day in the life in Jackson and Joel going to therapy. I remember you told me that, and I was like, Joel's going to therapy. They got a fucking therapist survive the apocalypse?
Yeah. That may be one of my favorite scenes in the episode, actually, is their conversation.
I almost feel the opposite with that. And for me, it's mostly because when I saw that scene, and we're probably talking about the same moment here between like that therapist and Joel, when she like vents to Joel about how she feels about him.
Right. Yeah.
The reason I dislike that is because it didn't feel like it was the therapist talking to Joel. That was Neil talking to the audience on behalf of Abby.
Yeah, I do agree that it definitely goes into the like, let's demonize Joel as much as possible camp. And that is some Neil bullshit. Yeah. But I like the scene here between the two actors. So,
and if I'm Joel, I'm thinking, where am I going to find a new therapist? Because I definitely need one now.
There's only the one.
Yeah. So, that's difficult.
Do you think we're going to get flashbacks to what happened to, was it Eugene?
Eugene. So we have to, because I think in the show, in the game, I think he got taken out by infected. Like, I don't think Joel had anything to do with Eugene's death, in any nefarious manner.
I got the idea in the show that Eugene probably got bit and then Joel killed him. But it seems like how it went down was probably kind of horrific.
Maybe. And yeah, we're going to have to definitely get a flashback to that. Speaking of which, like, the game opens up, like, very slowly as well. And it's like, I understand you guys want to slowly open up into this world or whatever. But the opening moments of the Part 2 video game, I was like, they should really just have taken this and put into the fucking TV show.
Yeah.
Because like there are really just like some cool and intimate moments between Joel and Ellie in the start of the game that, as of now, isn't in the TV show.
Yeah. Well, she plays the song in the beginning of the game, right?
Joel plays her song in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of like his way of trying to reconcile, you know.
But she also plays her song earlier too, right? In the game?
The Take On Me?
Yeah.
She does. She plays that song, that exact spot in the game.
Oh, it's in the same spot.
Yep.
Okay. For some reason, I just thought it may have been earlier, but it's probably just because the timeline is very weird in the show. The scene at the dance or whatever is, I think, well done in the first episode, because in a very simple scene in a short amount of time, they're able to display to you that, okay, Ellie is furious with Joel. Joel is not willing to say why to anyone, even his therapist, you know, because he's such a trusting guy.
Right.
And he's not willing to admit it to Ellie, even though that probably would, while she would be furious at him, she already knows.
Yeah.
And what she's furious at now is that he still won't be honest with her.
Exactly. And
he knows, he's got to know that that's why she's pissed.
Yeah.
And it's just like, bro, you're just, you know, being a fucking child right now, you know? So you got that, the her and Dina romance, like hinting at that or whatever. And then also that there's at least one motherfucking bigot in Jackson.
Yeah.
They accomplished all of that in a very short time.
Right. On a really interesting side note, Seth in the show looks oddly identical to Seth in the game.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really fucking bizarre. Like, that is uncanny. Yeah, just a weird side note there. The dance scene, I thought was good here. You know, we get the dance between Dina and Ellie.
That was good.
Yeah. What the show really needs to do for me now is they're gonna have to find some way to make me believe their relationship. Because as it stands, I don't know what the fuck they are. Like, if I'm just going off the basis of the show.
Right.
You guys kissed once, and sometime later, a matter of weeks or months later, you guys have sex, and then Allie's calling herself a dad, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here anymore. But anyways,
I don't know if they know. Like, honestly, I think the best thing that they did to show the chemistry between the two of them was the first night that they did the camping scene or whatever. They did a really good job at, like, showing the sexual tension then.
Yeah.
But, like, the crazy thing is that had to have been probably, like, the 30th fucking night they camped together.
Absolutely.
You know?
At least, right?
Assuming they were just trucking it.
Yeah. So, you know, also, like, no spoilers or anything here, but, like, because this is what I thought when I was playing the game in the very early stages, right? But, you know, I'm playing the game, or if in your guys' cases, you're watching the TV show, and you're like, oh, okay, so Dina used to date Jesse. Dina and Jesse broke up. Dina kissed Ellie. Jesse knows that Dina and Ellie kissed. Jesse's cool with it because they broke up. Dina and Ellie end up becoming a thing. Dina is pregnant. What do you guys think could possibly happen with Jesse? It's just written on like this. I'm talking from like 2020 me playing the game through for the first time, and I'm like, I don't see a good outcome for this guy.
No, Jesse's not gonna have a good time. Jesse is not gonna have a good time. I think this first episode, like, Joel honestly has some of the best stuff here, and like this is all the time we're really gonna get with him.
True.
But you know, old man Joel is very different than the Joel that we, you know, spent time with in the first season.
Yeah. Do you think that the show is trying to do more legwork to establish that Joel is softer? And do you believe that?
I think that is exactly what they're trying to do. And I like that aspect of it. I don't think it's going to sell me on the fact that he's going to trust some random strangers regardless of the situation. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, when it's go time, I think that Joel reverts back to the Joel from 20 years ago who kept his ass alive.
Not to mention, like, you have to remember, too, that in the TV show, Dina is with him.
Yeah. It's not Tommy, it's Dina, yeah.
And even whether it's the game version where Tommy's with him or the show version where Dina is with him, he looks at Dina like a daughter also.
Yeah.
He's going to be just as protective of her as he would have been of Ellie back in the day. Not to mention, she's also incredibly important to Ellie.
Yes.
So you got to add that in as well. So, like, Joel is not risking her under any circumstances. So, like, shotgun pointed on him or not, he's not going to let them motherfuckers inject her with anything.
Yeah, and that was the thing that got me. And it's like, okay, I get it, right? Because, again, in the game, it's Tommy, and they just beat the shit out of Tommy, you know? And I understand them not wanting to do that to Dina, but I'm like, I don't think Joel would just stand by and let them inject this mysterious chemical into this girl's neck.
Yeah, that shit could be arsenic.
Right. Yeah. Or their dosing could be fucking wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, these motherfuckers don't really seem put together, you know?
Yeah, man. Episode 2 does do something really unique, though, or different from the game with the Horde.
Yeah, I episode 1, man, you know, had the whole thing where Ellie and Dina tracked down the smart zombie or whatever, the smart infected, and I'm like,
it's the most video game shit they've done so far.
It really is, and like this makes no sense at all. I don't know that I want to spend forever talking about the ins and outs of why this doesn't make any sense, but it really doesn't, right? The cordyceps is not going to get smarter. There's not a hive mind. The whole thing is like really silly, right? And they end the first episode by showing that the cordyceps has like grown through the sewer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so fucking what? Like, and like nothing comes of that. Like they make this whole deal about, oh, it's crazy. Or is it like, okay, so the cordyceps is growing through here, so like they know there's people in here? I guess that's what they were trying to show.
I think that's what they're trying to show, and that's why they all went to Jackson.
And like the Horde was interesting, right? I mean, the whole like the imagery of them coming up out of the snow, right, was crazy.
Yeah.
It's weird though, right? Like, did these things just survive forever on nothing? Because like
that's a great question.
Because like they bite people to infect them, they don't eat them. So like, So like, does this cordyceps just live infinitely? That doesn't make no damn sense.
It doesn't, because the host has to do something.
Yeah.
You know, to survive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, I want to look at the science on that shit.
Neil Druckmann is furiously writing right now.
Yeah, he's like, oh, shit. shit. So that mist that they have, it comes out of the ground, right? And it has all these nutrients in it, and they absorb that.
You know, I do want to praise like certain aspects of this scene with the Horde attacking Jackson, because visually speaking, it was a spectacle. For the most part, like the people of Jackson had a game plan that they executed the best they could. I thought that, again, the visuals were just on point there. And you know, so they did a lot of things that I really thought was really cool and interesting. One thing that I did not like, though, was we don't get to see how they resolve this shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they're being attacked and then they get inside, and I'm thinking, oh, well, fuck, they're in now.
Yeah.
So is that it for Jackson? Because how do you stop that?
Right.
I don't know how many people are in Jackson. Let's say there's 2,000 people in Jackson, and let's say there was 400 infected. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah.
And you know, let's say 250 of them get in. Like, even if you do manage to kill all of the noticeable infected somehow, now that they're inside, how many of you guys have been bitten in the process?
Well, they do show them killing some people that got bit.
Yeah, we do see that, but it's like we don't see how they stop all of those infected that are now inside there, where it is way harder to defend your home when they are inside your house.
Yeah. Not to mention, like, some of the buildings burned down and whatnot.
Yeah.
It was riveting television.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they had to have this, number one, to have something to juxtapose against the Joel situation. I honestly feel like episode 2 is split into 2 different plots, and they both suffer for it. Like, I feel like maybe this should have been a episode 2 and an episode 3, you know?
Yeah.
Because I just don't feel like I feel like both of of those plots need more breathing room, more runtime.
Yeah.
If you were going to do it this way. But, you know, the production crew at HBO is still on their shit, right?
Oh,
Siege looks amazing. This is the first time we've ever got to really see what, like, a really well-equipped colony in the apocalypse defending itself in mass against the infected would look like.
Yes. And they brought the bloater back.
Yeah, this bloater was nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, you got me thinking about something earlier when you said, how did the infected survive? You know, like, without, like, what do they do to maintain themselves?
Right.
And that's an excellent question. But, like, another thought, at least for me, was that, like, the longer that you're infected, that's what causes the infected to develop and to eventually, potentially become a bloater, right? So, like, the longer you're infected, the worse, obviously, it gets and all that. If an infected has been around long enough to potentially get smarter, then wouldn't it be, like, an older type of infected?
But as they kind of demonstrated, eventually, like, the cordyceps just, like, grows out of your body entirely.
Yeah.
You know? But I'm still like, okay, so does that mean the cordyceps is, like, just actively feeding on you? But, like, if there's nothing to replenish your body at all, shouldn't that not take very long?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, this apocalypse would have theoretically been over years ago.
Right.
Because it just would have died out, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they don't really ever explain that, right? Like, the infected are just there where the plot needs them to be.
You know, speaking of which, just a sidebar here, I think that arguably, it's hard to say, arguably the worst thing that Neil Druckmann has ever done for this story is to outright say that, yes, they would have definitely gotten a cure from Ellie. He should have never said that shit, for one. For two, he writes the characters in both the game and the show as if that is a foregone conclusion, when how would it be?
Right. Because what information we get definitely doesn't make it sound like these guys knew what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it sound like they knew, like, these were not infectious disease specialists. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Those people are probably dead.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right? Because, like, the CDC probably got fucked real fast. Mm-hmm. Or you know, someone defunded it. Whichever.
Yeah. Whichever. Shit, I can see a reality where the shit gets out of hand because the CDC was defunded.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That will probably be a plot in future movies of this kind.
For sure.
You know? But, yeah, it's like, oh, man, they defunded the CDC and now we got zombies. So, here we are.
Oh, that didn't take long.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like they had some kind of like bat signal type thing that just prevented zombies from being a thing. And then like the power got shut off and oh well. But yeah, man, one thing I will say about this show, there are a couple characters that I really love in it. And Tommy is definitely one of them. Gabriel Luna here.
He's great.
He is consistently great.
Yeah.
I think Isabella Merced as Dina.
Yeah.
Also, that is a tremendous casting. And I like her better in the show than I do in the game for the most part.
I think I do too so far.
But she serves a very different purpose in the show so far.
That is a really big part of why I think I like her more in the show.
Because in the game, to me, she was always very much like the kind of angel on Ellie's shoulder, kind of like, don't do this shit.
Yeah.
Whereas in the show, she's kind of Ellie's ride or die. You know? She's like, oh, you want to fuck him up? All right, let's go.
Yeah, well, let's roll. Let's bounce.
Let's go. Yeah, let's pack up all our shit, which isn't much, you know, right. Apocalypse, and let's roll out.
Yeah.
Autobots. And I kind of wonder if the show is going to use an event to change that. Like, if she's going to be ride or die, and like there's going to be a part, like a certain point in time where we get to see through Dina's eyes, like, oh, this has gone too fucking far now.
Again, like, no spoilers, but there kind of has to be that moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Whereas in the game, it always kind of felt like she was not with it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true.
And it just became more so like, no.
Yeah.
You know? Here, she seems she's fully... I mean, she even in episode 4, like, they basically have that conversation where she's like, you know, you don't have to do this, like, whatever. And she's like, nah, I came all the way here. Fuck it, let's go.
Yeah. I think they're going to be that way. If my theory about where this season ends, I think there's going to be, like, a point where it's like, maybe I'm out.
Yeah. Yep. We'll get there. We'll talk about it later.
For shizzle.
In the spoiler section.
Yeah. But no, episode 2, man, people feel a way about it one way or another. They either love it or they're upset because Joel is dead or, whatever. But, I mean, did episode 2 accomplish what they set out to do?
It's so tough, man. Like, episode 2 is, like, so well produced. It's hard to be mad at it as an episode of television. The Joel death, it's really funny because I was watching an interview and like Neil Druckmann was like, ha, some people actually suggested that HBO wouldn't let us kill Joel because of how popular Pedro Pascal is. Ha. And he was like, the same network that put on Game of Thrones and let them kill Ned Stark in the beginning, like in the first season. Like, that's crazy. I'm like, no, dog. Like, HBO let them do that because they had 5 books and they was like, oh, this is going to make all this sense and lead to all of these things. It pretty much kicks off like 5 character arcs.
Yeah.
They had back then a hell of a plan, many years worth of a plan. And even back then, they were like, he'll come out with the next book before we get there.
We got time.
We got plenty of time. Yeah, I mean, he just put out a book. He's got like 6 years to put out another one. Shit.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good. I think Game of Thrones ended in 2021.
I think so.
2020, 2019, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there. It's been a while now.
But it's been a minute and there's still no book.
Still no book.
They did 8 seasons and it's been off. It's got to have been off at least 5 years because we're gonna get a 3rd season of House of the Dragon next year.
At least 5 years, then, maybe 6, closer to 6.
Yeah, still no book.
But every once in a while, George R.R. Martin pops out and he's like, "Hey, y'all, for realsies this time, I'm gonna work on it."
Yeah, I wrote like 4 sentences today, folks. It
had nothing to do with the book, but I wrote it though.
I wrote it though. Yeah, I did. But for Neil to make the like comparison that like them killing Sean Bean in that story, who like Sean Bean's character, Ned Stark, he dies in the first book. That's how it goes. To compare that with what they did here is kind of a false comparison, right?
It is. It's very much so a false comparison. And, and this also needs to be said too at some point. That is, as I mentioned earlier, nobody who's a fan of The Last of Us 1 was upset that Joel died. It has a lot to do with the fashion in which he died and the fact that his death was damn near a meaningless tool. By all means, I think the masses agree, kill Joel. That probably would be what's best for the story. Like, to put Ellie on this warpath that you want her to be on, absolutely that's what you have to do. But to do it at this point in the story, And in that fashion, to reduce Joel in this contrived fashion, it just makes this character who we just spent 20 hours playing as in the previous game, or 8-9 hours watching the previous season. Now all of a sudden, like, all of that looks like it was for nothing.
Right.
So yeah, it and then on top of that, it's really what follows, which really makes it even worse.
Right. It's not the fact that they kill him. It's the fact that the way it goes after that, there's never anything fulfilling that comes from it.
Yeah.
And I get to an extent that maybe that's part of what they're trying to say. I mean, it's not that there's some super in-depth message here, right?
But if you ask Neil Druckmann, there is.
If you ask Neil Druckmann, there is. But it's like, you can look at a synopsis of this game and go, okay, the two things that they're trying to say here. Number one is that, like, revenge is not going to fulfill you. They're trying to tell you a story about the follies of revenge, okay? There are a million other forms of media out there that I could name off the top of my fucking head that do that better, right? Without shitting all over their viewer.
We just mentioned God of War.
Or their characters. Exactly, yeah. God of War does it a couple times, actually. And then the second thing that they're trying to show, and I think they do a much better job of this, is they try to show, and this is a common theme amongst many zombie shows or apocalyptic shows or shows where there's some sort of like horrific creature, is that the humans are the most monstrous creatures on Earth, right? I do think they do a good job of that most of the time. But by the time you get to where the second game really starts to lay that in, it no longer feels nuanced at all.
It feels nuanced none, and you're absolutely right. Like the whole concept of like displaying the follies of the cycle of violence, it just feels so flat for me and one-sided. And also, like what I'm saying now, guys, like it should be taken with a grain of salt because Craig Mazin is still in charge of the TV show,
right? And
there are still plenty of chances and opportunities for him to really turn this thing around and to make the show better where maybe the game was lacking.
There is hope.
There is hope. And one of those things is just the overall tone of Game 2. I never really cracked a smile or very rarely had a heartwarming moment in Game 2. And when I did, it was in the form of a Joel flashback, a Joel and Ellie flashback.
Yeah.
And then I come back to current day, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
If I want to be depressed, I can go outside.
Yeah, exactly. Because at the time, there was an actual virus outside.
The actual fucking pandemic at the time, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like, it's just the overall tone of it, man, like, you never feel good. And even in Game 1 or Season 1, as dark and as bleak as that is, man, there were, like, these glimmers of hope that were brilliantly inserted into the story. And that's what you need, because why else would the characters continue on if there is no hope? And so with Game 2, man, or Season 2, they are going to have to find a way to input that hope where there is none in the Game 2.
So I can't believe I'm about to make this comparison. But Neil Druckmann should feel bad because I can make this comparison, and it's very apt. It's his fault, not mine, okay? He did it. I'm just pointing it out. Human Centipede 1 and 2, right?
Motherfucker.
So, the first Human Centipede movie comes out. If you're not familiar with this, it was a big thing in, like, the 2010s, okay? Or was it like...
It might have been...
Late 20s. Late
yeah,
2000s.
I think so.
Somewhere in there, okay? Somewhere after Harambe was killed. So there's this movie called Human Centipede, and if you're not familiar with it, Google it. I'm sure you will be disappointed. But the concept of said movie is that this fucking mad scientist wants to make a centipede out of 3 humans by attaching one human's mouth to another human's anus, and so on and so forth, right? So to create a single digestive system that flows all the way through all 3 humans. Sound disgusting as fuck? Great. Well, that was the point of the movie. The dude actually was trying to make something that was like incredibly disgusting. Well, what happens in our society, the shit comes out and like literally, and then people actually like the movie. I did watch the first one. It wasn't, I mean, it was about what I just said, you know? Like, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but I didn't watch it again. I've never watched it again and have no plans. Unless somebody just
no.
go back.
Oh God, no! I will strike that from.
It's part of the it's sort of a franchise technically. So so they have to wait like 30 years. So
not to sidetrack you, but who gets it worse in that scenario? Guy number 2 or guy number 3?
I think 2, right? Because at least if you're person number 3, by the time you get the excrement into your mouth, it's at least already been filtered again.
But is it just more waste then? Just more actual shit?
Well, I know it'd be less because like only the first person actually can like eat, and so like that's gonna be less by the time it gets to the second person, and then those nutrients have to feed that person. I can't believe we're talking about this, but this is this is gonna be legit. Just wait, I promise. Bear with me here.
They're gone already.
Yeah, they're gone. Okay, so yeah, and at least if you're the third person, at least your butthole isn't like stitched to someone. You know,
that's true, I guess.
But so people like the movie, and the dude who made the first one was like, motherfuckers. So he was like, well, fuck you guys then. So the second movie, right? It's not shot well. It's shot like The Shield, right? Yeah. With like a hand cam. Mm-hmm. It's in black and white. And the premise of the movie is that there's someone, it's like this meta thing, right? Where like the first movie came out, so this dude watched it and became obsessed with it. And so he, not being a doctor, because the person who did it in the first movie was a doctor. Yeah. This guy is not a doctor. He has like some rope and a staple gun.
Oh, no.
And he makes a 100-person human centipede. And it's like just infinitely worse in every way imaginable than the first one, like to the point where it's just like this was intentionally made to be as grotesque as possible. And I wish that comparison didn't hold up to these two games, but it does. Because, like, yes, the first game is incredibly bleak, but they were telling us a story that, like, was really, like, heartfelt and everything. And regardless of how you feel about the ending, I think from a dramatic standpoint, it's a masterpiece, right? Then in the second game, it's like Neil Druckmann's just like, well, I was trying to explain to them in the first game that the humans are worse than everything else. Even in the apocalypse, like that the humans are the real problem. But I don't know if they got it or not. So in the second game, we're just really going to we're going to lay that in as much as possible.
Holmes, I apologize for the human centipede dialogue. I got nothing for that.
I'm not wrong.
You are not wrong. You're not wrong.
I wish I was.
I think Junior is the only person here who wants to see that movie now, and no one else, I think, has the desire.
It may be the only movie Junior has seen.
Oh, dear Lord.
That's why he spends most of his life sitting here in the dark.
That does make sense. That tracks. I'm going to have to get him some Disney movies or something.
Yeah.
Junior's like, I have a Disney movie. Not that one.
Not that one, no. He's like, I'm in a Disney movie. Like, no, not that one.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Human centipede aside, that is actually a very apt metaphor or analogy for what Neil has done to his own franchise. And I hate that it is.
Yeah,
I feel like there's maybe a better example we could have found.
No, I think that one's spot on, unfortunately, because it's like it's hard for me to so like Jeffrey Wright actually voiced Isaac in the game.
Oh, that's right.
Which is awesome because he plays Isaac here in the show. And as good as he is, like his character is just it's not unbelievable like this person couldn't exist. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's just like this character is here to do fucked up shit.
Yeah. And if you wanna explain to us that this is an actual character, then I feel like we missed a step or two with him.
Yeah.
How exactly did you become this? Which, even though Isaac is a stand-in kind of caricature of sorts, one who needs to be the stand-in for the fucked up human that does fucked up shit for what he thinks is a righteous cause. I mean, if nothing else, Jeffrey Wright kills it.
Yeah.
But he always does.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I actually really love his monologue about the saucepans.
Bro, I didn't know where he was going with this, but I knew it wasn't good.
No, yeah.
And then he turns around and there's a fucking skeleton of a human being laying back there.
That scene was fucked.
Oh, yeah. We kind of skipped over episode 3.
We did. Let's we'll roll back to episode 3. I'll be honest, man. I didn't like this episode at all.
Dog, me either. Okay. Me either.
It's the worst episode of The Last of Us.
I was gonna say the same thing actually. I did not enjoy episode 3 hardly at all. Thankfully, episode 4 is for me. It's a pretty big come up.
Well, one of the reasons that episode 3 is so awful, right? It's just kind of how all over the fucking place it is. Mm-hmm. And I do love, so there's a couple things, as much as I may shit on this season, Bella Ramsey is killing it. Don't get me wrong. I think the writing for Ellie isn't great in a lot of places. But I think Bella Ramsey is doing an excellent job, and probably one of her best scenes ever is this moment where they let her out of the hospital. Mm-hmm. Where, she's just lying to them to tell them, what they want to hear, so they'll let her out, even though she's like, I told them motherfuckers I was going to kill them, and I'm going to kill them, I'm a woman of my word, damn it.
That's right.
And the look on her face when they do the tracking shot of her walking out of the hospital, loved that scene.
Yeah.
Where she's just like, finally they let me out of here. I'm going to get them bitches. Also, the scene where they are trying to treat her.
Yeah.
And she briefly wakes up and she's right back in that room. Mm-hmm. That scene was also incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great.
I also was like, man, these motherfuckers got a hospital.
Yeah, they got a fully functioning hospital.
I'll be honest, I just had, when this came out, I had just finished watching The Pit. Yeah. And the American healthcare system is actually not too far off from Apocalypse Hospital here.
Oh, geez.
But
my mind immediately went to fucking boring logistical things how good are you guys at really keeping medical records here? And what do you guys do for bags of saline?
Yeah.
Just the simple shit that you don't typically have to think about.
I guarantee you they probably got to have motherfuckers I guess they're boiling salt water.
Yeah.
And they just got the exact formula that you need.
Would have to. Yeah.
I would hate it if you were the motherfucker where they had to find out they didn't have the right formula.
That'd be awful.
But yeah, I mean, I actually did that same thing too, especially because I had just been watching the Pit. Amazing show. Check it out. And so I started thinking about all that different shit, how do they do schedules and all this other stuff. And I'm like, damn, I kind of want to see Apocalypse ER as a show,
I also feel like this is the one time where humanity, humans as a species, would just kind of regress instead of progress. Because I feel like if you just have a doctor teaching other doctors how to be doctors, that second doctor is going to be a little bit dumber than the first doctor.
Yep.
And then the third doctor is going to be way dumber than the first doctor.
Well, I don't know. It's you would kind of want to compare it to maybe maybe right after the Middle Ages. Mm-hmm. Once they stop being if Jesus don't fix you, then you weren't supposed to be fixed. Then once they got past that, I feel like medicine kind of hit a steady incline for a while. And then we got like legitimate like medical schools and licensing, and then you see like an increase.
Yeah.
And then obviously like all of that gets wiped out, right? So you have like the people who were trained to be doctors
and books.
If you're lucky, you have one or maybe both of those things if you're extremely lucky. Mm-hmm. And so you will have that issue, but also they do at least have the knowledge of all those sorts of things. So like, you know, they know that penicillin exists and what it does and like that sort of stuff. So you're not going to have like a total regression to like the 1800s necessarily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there will never be any new medical discoveries.
Right.
And if there are, they won't get out. Right? Because all of these colonies and shit are extremely, extremely segregated, right? I mean, they're all isolated from each other. You've got, risks of infections, like how do you keep environments clean and that sort of thing. And like, I mean, your nurses are probably just like housewives, you know, like from the, But I will say this, Ellie didn't get no bill.
She didn't get a bill.
They got universal health care in the apocalypse, but not here.
Yeah, that's right.
She didn't even have to wait like 9 hours to be seen.
That's true. Yeah. That's crazy. Like, they didn't ask for her insurance when they brought her in?
No.
That's wild.
No, they were just like, this little girl is obviously very hurt. Let's get her taken care of.
Yeah. I remember before my knee surgery, I got wheeled into a fucking office and was like, so, your insurance is going to cover this, but you're going to have like, this amount left to pay, out of pocket, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dog, that's high 4 digits right there.
Yeah, right? And they was like, do you want to walk or not?
I was like, you're right.
Yeah, man, this hospital was nice.
Yeah.
But that might be all the highlights of episode 3, man. It's just...
I think for me, like, right off the bat, one thing that kind of let me down a little bit was the direction of this episode. Like, after episode 2, I actually gave the show props that I now have to take back. Because I said that, they're doing this horde attack, and that's the reason why they can't go out and avenge Joel, because they got to repair, and they got to tend to their dead, and they got to, restock and supply. Like, it's going to take all hands on deck just to get Jackson back up and running.
Right.
But then we fast forward, and it's been however many weeks or months, and that's not an issue anymore.
Well, I think it is still sort of an issue. I will say, I loved Ellie's speech at the council meeting. I thought that was well done.
It was a well done speech, but it's not what I expected or wanted to hear from Ellie.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. I just thought that the way it was done and the way she read it and like presented it, it really made me feel something. But obviously it like didn't sway anybody. I honestly feel like this was just a fucking kangaroo court anyway. Like
it was a foregone conclusion, and they knew it.
They knew they weren't going to do it. But here's the problem, right? As the viewer, you already know they're going to say no, and that Ellie's going to go anyway.
Yep.
Like, even if you don't know shit about the game, from the moment she walks out of that hospital, you're like, she's going after them. It doesn't matter what the fuck they say. So this is all just a waste of time.
Yeah.
We've seen this a million times.
Right.
The young kid is like, we got to go do this thing. And all the grown folks are like, no, you can't do it. And so they sneak out and do it anyway.
Yep.
And I guarantee you, pretty much every time you can think of, it's been done better than it was done here.
Yeah. Yeah. And in episode 3, I was still very much patient with the writing on this show. Still trying to be, because again, like if there's one word to describe Ellie, in the game at this point, it is hateful.
Yeah,
vengeful. Like she is on a warpath, whereas here they are really keeping Ellie reserved. It's like they're letting like small glimmer of anger pop out. It's like the way that they are presenting Ellie's anger here. It's like if I went outside and I saw there was a big ass dent in my car and somebody had hit it and then they took off, and then you told me, well, hey dog, look, I got a picture of the car. Like, we can probably find him. Like, that's the kind of anger that she is emoting here. But I need her to emote like someone just murdered her fucking dad.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do like the scene where Ellie walks through the house.
That was a good scene.
Yeah. And I also like the scene where like she comes out and they've got all the like memorials out there for Joel. Mm-hmm. I will say that the mourning for him is way better in the show than it is in the game, because in the game you really don't get any of that. It's like right into it, right? But that's kind of how you want a video game to be.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. You get the moment where like she goes through. You have to go through Joe's stuff. And, and that's a really good scene. Another really good scene that I'm hoping is going to be in the flashback is Joe talking with Tommy. This takes place right after the end of the first game, but you see it in the second game. And Joel, he's talking with Tommy, and he tells Tommy exactly what he did and, why he did it. And, Tommy's like, that's a lot to fucking take in.
Yeah.
But then he's like, hey, I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I can't say that I wouldn't have done the same thing, and I'll take it to the grave if I have to. It was just a really good moment between those two. I need them to put that in this show.
I swear to God, man, if they flip it in the show and, like, he told Dina instead, that would be so fucked.
What the fuck?
Yeah, man.
That couldn't be it, because we see how Dina reacts to
that's right.
being bit for like the 18th fucking time.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I hate that scene. We can talk about that. I hate it.
Yeah, Ellie. I mean, I guess Joel isn't the only one who was off his game, because Ellie keeps getting fucking bit.
Yes, she does.
I need you to cut that out.
Well, when she gets bit in episode 4, it makes a lot more sense. Like she gets bit intentionally to keep Dina from getting bit.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, when she's trying to talk her out of the gun, right? Yeah. Like out of shooting her, I'm like, why don't you offer to be like, look, I can show you where I already got bit. Yeah. Like, I got 2 different ones. Remember that burn I told you about? Like, I told you it's a burn? Yeah, I burned over it. Look, you can see the teeth marks right here. Or, any like evidence that she could provide where she's just like, nah, just believe me. Believe me. Please believe me.
I tell you what, I'm going to take a nap. And then when I wake up, you can not shoot me.
Yeah. I think Dina played it all very well.
Oh, yeah.
But the writing here was weak as fuck to me.
It kind of was. Yeah. What else happens in episode 3? How do you feel about old Seth?
He's kind of inconsequential to me. I mean, obviously,
we won't really see him again, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, this is the bigot dude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, bigot dude is like, yeah, man, I don't like you guys, playing with each other's vaginas, but Joel was a stand-up guy, and so here's my horse. Well, it's not his horse; it's Joel's horse, and some guns and ammo, and go do the damn thing.
He was also one of the only ones to stand up in the kangaroo court and be like, y'all on some fuck shit.
How do you feel about do you think the council made the right choice here?
If you're thinking about it as a whole, right, like the community as a whole, then it probably is the right decision.
I agree, because it's like, now if it was a situation where it's like there's any indication whatsoever that these wolves
will come back, if they came and stole supplies or something like that, then we're going to have to not only fortify, but send out people to meet them, before they come to us. Yeah,
to deter them from coming back or wipe them the fuck out. But, like, it's like they came here, they got what they wanted. Mm-hmm. They ain't trekking another 400 miles or whatever here again. They got no reason to. Yeah. It's like, looking at it from, like, the betterment of the city and, like, what's best for Jackson, there's no way you okay this. Yeah. And Jesse's ass knows he didn't vote for it and didn't have the balls to say so.
Exactly. I was going to ask you if you think Jesse voted for it or not.
Do you think that Tommy voted for it?
I'm gonna say Tommy voted for it. I'm gonna say Tommy's a stand up enough guy that he voted to go and avenge his brother.
Because I think 3 of them voted to go. I don't think Maria was one of them.
No. Jesse might have voted for it, but I don't think so.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah. So yeah, 8 of them were bitches. I'm sure that's what Ellie was thinking too. You know, y'all bitches.
But also in episode 3, we get the is it Seraphim?
Oh, yeah.
We get introduced to them.
Yeah, the scars.
Yeah. This shit was weird.
They are a very weird group of people. They're a very weird group of like enemy factions in the game. You know, this opening scene was interesting that we get with them because it presents them as like, you know, as victims and as, you know, they present them like they're the ones who will have the audience's sympathy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I played the game, you know, like you kill plenty of them and you kill plenty of wolves and none of them are good, you know. And I'm wondering if the show, they have to eventually get to that point, you know, where we see that, okay, none of these people are good.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're already there because, like, even as Isaac is torturing the shit out of, I think Malcolm used to be that thing's name. He, you know, he was like, you shot a little boy in the head with an arrow. I mean, you know, and immediately you're like, well.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true.
And honestly, like, so far, like, I'm sure we're going to see Isaac do some fucked shit we don't agree with. So far in the show, the people he's killed has been the child murderer and a fucking truckload of Fedra soldiers, which, you know, and he got the one guy out of there that he thought wasn't a piece of shit, you know.
Yeah, but what's that guy supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know, I was just like, well, you know, choose your path. Okay, if I choose Fedra, I'm going to get murdered right fucking here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with you guys?
Yeah. Yeah. That shit was cold as ice, man, when he killed a truck full of people.
Bruh. That shit was brutal.
He just did that shit so calm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you have to wonder, so the way that this scene was presented, like, I guess sometime recently he had made a deal with the wolves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because the way he was acting, man, he was acting real cold and distant from the rest of the group.
Do you think there's like a Fedra colony that just like worked out, like where Fedra just had their shit together, like in at least one place?
Maybe not Generation 1 Fedra, but maybe like Iteration 2, and then it immediately went to shit.
Yeah.
You know? I imagine that maybe there was one group early on, Fedra. Like the Fedra where like they worked out most of the kinks.
Yeah.
You know, and had settled into the apocalypse, but not so long into the apocalypse that like, you know, they just became complete and total asshats.
Yeah. Well, you also got to think too. It's like, you think it's hard for like governments and shit now to like try to keep a handle on the populace, and it is, man. That's why they have, you know, massive propaganda networks and like, you know, the amount of time that they spend like building shit into your brain from like the day that you first start going to school or whatever, which, you know, you're legally required to do.
Yeah.
There's a reason they do all of that shit, folks. And like Fedra doesn't have those resources. And you also got to think, it's like, we have all the distractions in the world, right? Sitting here podcasting.
Yep.
We got video games and TV shows and cell phones and all this shit to do. You think even back to like ancient Rome, right? Like they built a giant coliseum, and had motherfuckers fight to the death.
And they had little boys they used to diddle with all the time.
Yeah, to entertain people. Actually, I think they're still doing that, but just to entertain the masses, and to keep them from killing them. You know.
Yeah.
And here in the apocalypse, they don't really have the means to do any of that shit.
Right.
So like, they can like train you and give you like something to do around the QZ, but nobody's really happy.
Yeah.
In the apocalypse, When you wake up in the morning, you in the apocalypse.
Yeah.
You ain't got no air conditioner.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. You ain't got no AC. You ain't got no heat. Start a fire. You are permanently camping.
All the time.
Yeah. You might live in a building, but like it don't have no accommodations that we're used to a building having.
Bro, we spoke about this a few weeks ago, like when the hurricane hit and how miserable those 4 or 5 days were.
Just imagine that's the rest of your life.
I'm finding the tallest roof and I'm asking somebody to dirt over me off of it. pretend I'm Bullseye and just yeet my ass off this roof.
I don't know, man. That was a tall ass roof he lived through.
He did. He's got more constitution than I do.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But this opening scene in episode 4, I thought was at least interesting, though.
Yeah, I agree. Jeffrey Wright is a compelling ass character.
Yes.
No matter what. He's going to play the character well. Mm-hmm. Do I think that we're going to get anything out of Isaac that's going to be satisfying in any way? Probably not.
No, yeah.
But he could chew the screen, though.
Yeah. I'm gonna theorize, more about him in the spoiler section.
Yeah.
In case my prediction is right, I don't want to spoil that shit.
Right.
Yeah, I have thoughts about how his character's gonna end up. But yeah, like this opening moment with him was pretty fucking intense. And you're right. Like no one he kills is like an innocent person, But man, that torture scene was still rough.
Oh yeah, that shit was awful.
Yeah, dog, and it's one of those things where it's like if I'm that guy who's being tortured, what's your move? What's your game plan, man? What do you do?
I think you just try to get him to kill you.
Yeah.
At that point,
I love when Isaac was like superheating that fucking copper pan again, and then he turns around and the guy already has his other hand out there, waiting to be burned again, and then Isaac just shoots him.
Just showing how like completely fucking just off the reservation these guys are.
Yeah, he is committed to the cause. Ugh.
We also got to see Falcon. Manny.
Yeah.
And like this is the first time since they killed Joel that we've seen any of that section of the wolves, like that squad. Mm-hmm. What do you think about like how absent, they have been, and how absent Abby has been from the show? Like we don't know anything.
Yeah. I think we probably won't see Abby again until episode 6. It's my thought. And, I think that season 3 is going to be super Abby focused. And if they can spin that fucking story into something that's truly compelling, then Craig Mazin is one of the GOATs.
Season 3, I did look it up, and yeah, they are already confirmed for a season 3. I think that's it though. Like, yeah. Whether they get renewed or not, and I don't think they will. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they have anything.
I say this all the time, right, about superhero movies, and it also applies here. So, when you're like a fan of something, and that something has a source material, you can kind of be a watcher on the wall and say, hey, you might want to pivot here because if you do this, then it's going to end up not the way you want it to go.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and it happens all the time with like superhero movies or anything that has lore, and they're like, hey guys, make sure that you do this like this, or that you don't do this like that, because it's gonna be fucked up. It's the same thing with The Last of Us, man. The Last of Us Part 2 comes out, and it doesn't matter if you love it or if you hate it. It was a super fucking divisive game.
Right.
Incredibly divisive. And so when they adapt this season of television from that game, is it really that big of a surprise to see that a large percentage of your audience has decided to peace out on it? It shouldn't be if you look at the history of where it came from.
The user score on Metacritic went from 8.0 to 3.9.
Holy shit.
In 2 weeks. And you can say, oh, that's the review bombings or whatever. If people were review bombing it, they would have been doing it from day one because the second game has been out for years.
Facts.
Also, you cannot argue with the ratings plummet. And there have been people that have tried to say, oh, that's not what's happening, blah, blah, blah. No, there's at minimum, a 30% ratings drop week to week. Typically for HBO tentpole shows like this, you actually get a bit of an increase in viewership. It's actually usually a bit of a curve, right? Where it's like you have a HBO show like Game of Thrones, right? Season 1, you have a steady incline to the finale. And then when the premiere comes back, you actually have a boost, right? Because the networks will be advertising the new season. People have heard, you've usually got like 6 months to a year, longer now for a lot of these shows, between shows. And so like the word of mouth will start to get around. So people will go back and they'll watch season 1 in that gap, and they become fans of it. And so when you have the season 2 premiere, that premiere will be even higher than the finale of the previous show, of the previous season. And then, yes, you will have a little bit of a dip, and then that will curve back up to the season finale. What you want to have, right, is you want your finale, your premiere of season 2 to top your finale of season 1.
Yeah.
You want your finale of season 2 to be bigger than that premiere was.
Right.
And you want to keep growing like that. A thriving premium television show grows like that. If you want to go back and look at the ratings for Breaking Bad, right? Yeah. The people who watch, like, Breaking Bad did not break until like the 3rd or 4th season.
Yeah.
It was watched, but the viewership slowly increased over time, and then it just exponentially started to snowball. Game of Thrones is the same way. A lot of people had never heard of that shit. Season 1 was not this revolutionary ratings giant.
Yeah.
But season 3 was, and 4 and 5 and so on. Even when Game of Thrones went to shit, people still tuned in.
Oh, yeah.
This show has dropped off entirely. Like, you're looking at 30% or more have turned it off. And that is just assuming that the viewership does not continue to drop week over week, because as of now, we don't really know what episode 4 did yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things, man, where they're in a real shitty spot, but it's something that could have been avoided, and again, it's not fair for me to put all of this on Neil and then give all the praise to Craig.
But if you look at their previous work,
yeah, if you go about what they've done, then it's easy to do that, you know. But it's just one of those things, man, where this could have been avoided had you looked at where the divisiveness from the sequel came from and thought, okay, we call ourselves storytellers. How do we pivot this to keep the essence of the second game alive, but take that divisiveness aspect out of it and make something that everyone, or virtually everyone, can more thoroughly enjoy?
Right.
That's what your role should be, But instead, man, they just decided to try to stay the course with where the second game went. And even though that second game garnered a lot of hate, they are deciding to stick to their guns on this. And man, this is one of those things where I don't think that time is going to make it better. No. I don't think that, having 18 months to 2 years layoff between seasons, 2 and 3, I don't think that's a smart move.
No, I think you're going to have to give people a super compelling reason to try to come back. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't exist in the game, so you got to invent one. Exactly. Yeah.
And so I'm really curious to see what they do for that. There are some interesting things that happen in episode 4. I do largely agree with what you said earlier, though, about how Ellie's sense of urgency and her sense of anger and purpose just seems to be wavering.
Yeah,
to put it lightly.
I liked almost everything we saw here. Like the stuff with the wolves versus the seraphim is intriguing, even though they're all psychopaths. They're both worse than Fedra was.
Yeah, somehow.
All the shit with, I really love pretty much all the Ellie and Dina stuff. Bella Ramsey killed it on the song. That was a super awesome scene.
Agreed.
Amazingly done. I really love the action that we got in this with the horde or whatever, coming through here and wrecking the wolves, and particularly the imagery on the subway car, right? Where they were like falling into the car behind them.
Yeah.
I will say this. One thing that this season has already worn out their welcome on is the whole, I'm between the fence and the zombies, and the zombies are like right here. They've literally already done it 4 times in 4 episodes.
I remember they did it with Abby.
And it was really well done there.
Yeah.
Like, that Abby scene was actually, like, legitimately horror.
Yeah.
Where you felt at any second like she could get got. Unfortunately, for you and I, we know who she is, and we were like, yes, get her.
Please.
Please believe me. I can't tell you how glued to this shit I'd have been if, like, she would have got bit right there. She's, like, trying to kill Joel, but she starts turning,
How amazingly goofy and arcadey would it be if they did get greenlit for a 4th season, and it's like Abby does get bitten, but she becomes like half infected, half Abby, all badass.
Oh no.
And then, you get to become like a superhero and defend the world from the rest of the infected.
Here I go, cordyceping again.
you get like a cordyceps whip, you can pull in.
What was that game? Unleashed or whatever it was called?
That sounds familiar.
You know what I'm talking about? There was 2 of them that came out, and you were like a kind of like a...
not infamous. Prototype.
Yeah, where you kind of were this weird kind of symbiote type thing. It'd be like that.
Yeah. I should stop talking though.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I love the interactions between Ellie and Dina here, but like you said, it's they're not like all of Ellie's like anger and urgency and stuff isn't here. It's like they just forgot about it, even though it's the main plot.
Yeah.
The whole, the zombies pressed up against me thing, you guys have already overused that shit. Please stop. Like, if I see it again, I'm just going to roll my eyes going forward.
They have to get them if they do it again.
Right, yeah. The whole Ellie got bit thing, I thought that shit was contrived. I feel like there was a way better way she could have explained to her. I feel like Dina was way too ready to shoot her. I mean, granted, they live in the apocalypse. They grew up in the apocalypse. If you see a motherfucker get bit, you got to kill him, right?
Facts.
Like, the last thing you want to see is, like, somebody you just fell in love with turn.
Yeah.
But, like, she seems super ready to shoot her.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a few hours. Like, like you ain't even going to be like, I love you, goodbye, or none of that shit. You just blap.
Like a Band-Aid.
How fucked would it have been if, like, she just had shot her before she even turned around?
Bruh. Holy shit.
Be like, oh, shit.
I don't know where the story goes from here now.
I don't know where it goes from here now. Anyway, might as well.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, man, folks, listen, if you're listening to this or watching this and you don't know anything about the second game, I'm not saying you should Google it and ruin it for yourself, but you're probably like, man, these guys are some pessimistic assholes. Listen, they are, unless they come up with something, there's not anything compelling ahead. And I don't think, while I enjoy this episode, parts of it, I don't know that it really goes anywhere either.
Yeah. That is a fair assessment. And as far as where they are now, like, I don't know like how many casual viewers know that they have been greenlit for season 3.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of them know that this is going to end on some kind of cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this much, they're not expecting that. They are expecting, you're expecting Ellie to catch up to Abby and resolve issues, and then we roll credits. Yeah, just keep watching. I'm sure.
Yeah. Although, it does seem that Ellie's finger game is on point.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like that guitar dexterity has helped out a lot.
I see. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. And see, sometimes I'm just not mature enough for things. But when they were like waking up the next morning, I was like, "You ain't wash your goddamn hands."
I think it's the apocalypse. You really don't care about that.
I mean, yeah, it's the principle of the matter,
Although when that shit started, I was like, "Please take her clothes off."
No, it didn't happen. I'm like, that's mad uncomfortable.
Right? Yeah.
For both parties, really.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Isabella Merced is freaking gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
But she's killing it, man. Like, I think she's doing a really good job. You want to score this thing, or you got anything else you want to cover first?
Yeah, I think I'm about ready to score this, man. I think I've said all I can say about these 4.
Well, that's cool because it's your turn.
It is my turn, isn't it? Oh shit!
I had to go first on what was it that we just
Andor?
Yeah, on the bad episodes of Andor. I was like, oh man.
Okay, guys, I'm not gonna lie. This is a little rough. We were already starting with a deficit for me with Last of Us Season 2 because if you haven't caught on already, I will say this again. I do not like Game 2. I like the look and I like the atmosphere and I like the gameplay. I don't like hardly any of the characters and I certainly don't like the story. And so coming into Season 2, I didn't have a whole lot of high hopes. I watched this with bated breath. And I gotta say, the show does make changes. A few of the changes are for the better. Some of them actually aren't. There are some very, very crucial and critical scenes that I think should be included in the show that haven't. And maybe they'll save those flashbacks for Season 3 because they need something to pad out that season. I can definitely see them doing that. But by that point, who the fuck will care? The look of this show is still fantastic. I do have to agree with one criticism that has been pointed out a few times, and that is, why are their clothes so goddamn clean? And I hate that. I hate when you're in a situation like they are, and they just left the fucking dry cleaners.
It's Wheel of Time. Everybody's on their way to the con,
I'm like, y'all should be dirty and dingy, and your clothes should be the same. But okay, whatever. Everybody has like these nice, clean clothes. The action and the horror of it all is still mostly fresh. Some of it is, like Caleb said earlier, just a little bit overdone, maybe overcooked. But for the most part, I still think it's well done. And every time you get to a point where you're starting to think that they forgot about the infected, they bring them back in, which is good because you don't want this to be a Walking Dead situation where the main threat is no longer a main threat, and it's all about just strictly the human interaction. You also want to have that threat of the infected to be there. The pacing of this thing is weird. It is weird and it's a little wonky and it's kind of all over the place. There's moments, large swaths of moments that I think could be cut. And then there's other things I think they should have spent more time on. So it's really bizarre right now. But for the fact that they're just separating a single game into 2 seasons of television, it's weird enough to do as it is. I'm going to give episodes 1 through 4, season 2 of The Last of Us, I'm going to give it an even 6 out of 10 so far.
Fair enough. I agree with a lot of your assessments there. I think the show is super well produced. HBO's production crews, they are some of the best in the world at what they do. Mm-hmm. They make TV shows that look better than most movies. I like the use of practical effects on this show. It's very rare that anything doesn't look solid. Even when they have something that's very CGI assisted, like the bloater, they always do a really good job with it.
Yeah.
So the problem here, almost all of the problem. I don't even really have a problem with anybody's performance. I have a problem with some of the casting, Abby, and I have a problem with a great deal of the writing. Right? It's like, I know they don't have an end point that they want us to get to, because if they did, they would have given it to us in the game.
Yep.
It's like this story is just going to trail off into a nothing burger eventually, I feel like. And when you're planning out a TV show, even more so than a video game, it's like, yeah, you can pull a whole subverting expectations thing in a TV show, but for the most part, you're going to have a sense of direction about how the TV show is going to go. This feels a lot like Phase 4 MCU, where it's like, okay, I just watched the thing. I may or may not like it, but where are we going? And it's like, whether you liked it or not, it definitely didn't tell you where you're headed,
right,
and give you an indication of where you're headed. And people don't really like most of Phase 4 of the MCU either. And that's kind of how I feel about this, that there's things in here that I definitely like. There's things that I'm intrigued by. But I know that the overarching plot here is not going to give us anything substantial unless they make major changes, possibly ever. And they've shown that they are willing to stick to their guns. Like, I feel like if they were going to make a change, like, you would have been out of your mind to think, okay, they're not going to kill Joel. How crazy would that be? You would have been silly to think that. My assumption, though, was that they were going to keep him alive considerably longer, and that they would have had the death be the end of season 2. I think that would have been really compelling, but they chose to do it in episode 2. That's not the problem. I actually think it's in a lot of ways worse than how it happens in the game. The suspense and everything is certainly not there. So it's like, you don't like game 2, but then there's things that the show does better, and there's things that the show does worse. And I think the worse is definitely outweighing the better here, both in the quality of the moment and also the quantity. There are some changes. Dina, for instance, I think is a lot better in the show. But it's like, this is literally, we got one character total that we can root for here. You know, and also, I'm not 100% on this, but it doesn't seem like they really know where they're going with Ellie. Ellie, who is now asked to be the main character of this show.
Yeah. You're
asking Bella Ramsey to carry this show on her back. I'm not saying that she can't do it, but I am saying she is a younger actor, and it is a lot. You're putting a, very high budget, top of the line TV show on her back. And it's not like Game of Thrones, where there's this crazy intricate ensemble cast where it's like, okay, well, if my story arc dips for a little bit, somebody else's, like 2 or 3 other ones will be going good,
right, while
they're doing development for me, and then I have my moment while they're having theirs. No, you don't have that. Like, you have to go back to Ellie constantly.
Yep.
She is the sole main character, and maybe, I guess, going forward, you can put Dina, Abby, and maybe Isaac right there with her. Mm-hmm. But that's it.
And even then, to lesser degrees.
Yeah, none of them are the main character. It is Ellie. So, yeah, man, with all that being said, I'm going to give this a 5.2 out of 10. And I'm telling you, the only thing that kept this thing up above the 5.0 mark was the fact that, like, the production, the way it's shot, the technical aspects of it, and the cast, I just couldn't see giving it something that low. But, like, if I was just going off of the writing here, this would be like a 4.4.
Yeah.
4.5, somewhere in there, It would just lose a lot. But, yeah, there you have it, folks.
Yeah, that's our score. Really quickly here, I just want to talk about some spoilerific things.
Yeah, if you don't want to know about anything past episode 4, or in the game past episode 4,
we'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next week, and we're gonna get into some Andor. But and I'm actually thankful we got like 3 weeks before we have to do this again.
That's true.
We'll have sat through probably at least one Fantastic Four movie between now and then.
Yeah. So there's that. All right, man. So, really quickly here, where I think that this season is going to end, there, to the game's credit, there's actually a pretty interesting boss fight that you have to do. Um, Hell, to be honest, it's not even at the halfway mark of the game. Maybe it kind of is, but not really. And it's when you're Ellie, you're still playing as Ellie, and you have Dina with you, and you're hunting down Abby, and you have your first encounter with Abby.
Right.
And the way they do it is actually is pretty unique, because they're both just technically humans. So how the fuck are you gonna go around shooting each other?
Yeah.
But it was a pretty unique fight scene that you have set up here, because the whole idea is that Ellie, she's so fucking scrappy, and just she's got her wits about her, whereas Abby is a fucking tank,
Yeah.
and the way that it ends is, this is after Ellie finds out that Dina's pregnant and all that. Their reactions are way different in the game than it is in the show.
Yeah.
In the game, Ellie's like, "What the fuck?" But Abby, she grabs Dina and she just bashes her face into the fucking ground like repeatedly, and she's telling Ellie, I don't want to kill her, but I fucking will. So leave me the fuck alone. I spared your life once. I'm not gonna do it again.
Yeah.
And and like she's got Dina dead to right, and Dina, she's all fucked up, and like it's a very visceral moment, in a game that already has a lot of really dark visceral moments in it. But I don't know if they're gonna put that scene in the TV show, but I think that maybe this first physical encounter between Abby and Ellie is maybe where they end season 2 of this.
Do you think that they end season 2 on that note, and then like in season 3 we pick up with Abby and get like a whole episode with her?
I think so. I think it's very likely that's what we do. But here's the thing, though. If that's the case, when we come back for season 3, the viewers, the casuals, they're gonna think that, okay, they're gonna give us an episode of introducing Abby, and then the next week would be another episode with Abby. And this is really, if season 2 hasn't tested the fan base, season 3 is gonna put them through the fucking ringer as they ask you, the viewer, to have sympathy and understanding for Abby, and then come to think, maybe Abby has a really, really valid point here, and Ellie has just taken things too far.
See, it didn't work then, and it isn't going to work now.
I know.
Because Abby's not a sympathetic character.
She's not.
She's still a member of the fucking Wolves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they're a bunch of fucking psychopaths. And, like, the actress that they cast here, I don't think she can really garner the sympathy. Like, she just comes across as bitchy and entitled. Mm-hmm. It is not going to work.
It's a hard sell.
It didn't work in the game, and in the game you can manipulate a lot.
Yeah.
You can't really do that here in the show. And I'm going to tell you now, if whatever amount of the audience survives season 2, if they end season 2 like we just talked about and open season 3 like we just talked about, the viewership is going to be in the tank by the time this whole thing ends.
Yeah. I can 100% seeing people say, this is too much, I'm out,
Yeah.
And it's understandable. Like, there's not a whole lot that gets me, you know what I mean? Like, I typically don't mind, the grim or the dark or the gritty or whatever. But typically it serves some sort of purpose, you know what I mean?
Right.
And there's a lot of it in this story that's just kind of needless, even for me, And again, like, you juxtapose that with the fact that there is no bright spots in this story, no happy moments,
I mean, even if the ending, right, were to show us, like, even if they were to change it where, let's just say that Ellie gets her revenge.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, does the show end right there? Is that how the show is going to end?
I think the ending, You mean like for season 3?
I mean like for the series. Because this thing's not going to a 4. No. I can't fathom that.
So here's my thing. Even if it does end with Ellie getting her revenge, the actual ending will still be the same, where she goes home to an empty house.
Right.
And Dina has left with the child.
Yeah.
And Ellie, she's going to pick up the guitar. She's going to try to play it, but she can't because she's missing 2 fingers because fucking Abby bit off 2 of them. And, bro, like, it's so dark, it's almost comical.
Yeah.
And it really is.
Yeah.
Like, she can't have that. She can't play the fucking guitar anymore because she got her fingers bit off by Abby.
It's really fucked all of it, right? To think about how there's really nothing else for it to give us here. Yeah. And I think that they really wrote themselves into a corner.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they walked away from that going, this is brilliant. This is what we're going to put out. You know? At the very minimum, it's like we talked about before. They should have given the player a choice. Mm-hmm. But then again, any content that you make after the don't kill her choice, nobody's ever going to see that shit. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think Neil's ego can handle that because he really wants people to like Abby.
I don't get that obsession.
It's weird, man. Like,
they're not going to like her here either.
At some point, man, you have to think about it in rules of wrestling. You know, you may want to be a babyface and go out there and get cheers, but if you go out there and get mega boos, at least people are reacting.
And you got to lean into it.
Yeah. Yeah, just go with it.
It's kind of like if you look at this story, right? Like, I can completely see sitting down and going, you know what would be incredible to pull off is if I could make a protagonist in game 1 be the antagonist in game 2, right? That has been done a handful of times to a degree of success. This is not one of them.
No, it's not. And I mean, you know, listen, like it, and there are ways to try to tell this story, but listen, Joel he's a beloved character in video games. So, you know, whoever kills him off, again, people don't have a problem with him dying, but whoever kills him off, there is no sympathy for that person.
No, it's also, too, right? Like, so let's just say you look at it on the base level, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, okay, so it's wrong for Ellie to be completely driven by revenge and go on this lengthy journey just to kill Abby. Mm-hmm. Okay, like that's not a hard sell, right? But you can't use that argument to garner sympathy for Abby because she just spent 5 fucking years doing exactly that.
Yeah.
And has no remorse whatsoever for it.
None.
Like, not even a little bit. She's like, fuck yeah, I'm glad I killed him.
So I think that for season 3, a lot of the heavy lifting is going to be not even on Abby. It's going to be on, I think the character's name was Lim. It's one of the Seraphites. It's a kid. And the kid was, I don't really remember. I think the kid was kind of exiled because he was trans. He's trans. And, you know, I guess there are just zero religious cults out there that have any kind of time of day for a trans person. But I think a lot of the heavy lifting is going to be on that character. And by the way, so Lim is, I think that's the character's name, but Lim kind of shadows Abby the same way like when you're playing against Ellie for a while, Dina shadows Ellie.
Right.
So I think that they're going to lean on Lim to provide Abby with some sort of sympathy, like look at Abby taking care of this kid, but I don't think that's going to work either because again, it didn't work in the game. So,
not to mention like how divisive that specific topic is in our society right now.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be even more problematic, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah,
because like the same people who like would have exiled this person, like some of them people are going to be watching this show.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
And I guess one more thing. And this is just on a more lighthearted comedic note before we wrap up here. It'll probably be season 3 before we see this, but I want to see the Rat King.
Yes. Yes. They have to do it, right?
They have to. I mean, it's such a video game thing, but at this point, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
You know?
Do you think that they just say fuck it and like that's the end of season 2?
Alien and Navi work together and they kill the Rat King.
Yeah.
That would be phenomenal. For those of you listening who don't know, Rat King is a cordyceps boss in The Last of Us Part 2, and it's like a bunch of dead infected kind of get fused together over years and become this amalgamation, abomination type thing. It's really fucking creepy.
It's like they were like, we don't have anything, but how can we make a boss?
Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, well, fuck it. We'll make a Rat King.
Yeah. Is that like a bunch of cordyceps rats? No, not really. No,
not really. No. Yeah.
It is a cool enemy, though.
It is a cool enemy, and it's a part of the game where I was like, I think I'm playing Resident Evil right now.
Yeah, it's very like Resident Evil body horror kind of thing.
Yeah. Super cool though.
Yeah.
I have to give the game props for that. That was a really fun part. So yeah, I think. Oh yeah, and also, Jesse dies.
Yeah.
If you guys didn't catch him. But I mean, if you can see Jesse's death coming a mile away, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, there ain't no room for a love triangle in the apocalypse.
Yeah. There's barely enough room for any love in the apocalypse.
Yeah, so you got to go, bro.
Yeah. Sorry, Jesse. You know, I'm sure you probably would have been an all right dad. I don't know.
He lives, and season 4 is all about him. He's like, man, I left them bitches. They was crazy anyway.
Yeah, they was crazy as fuck, man. I'm out of here.
Although I got hoes in different quarantine zones, don't exactly roll off the tongue as well.
Yeah, not really. Nah, he got to think of a new lyric.
Yeah.
You got anything else before we wrap up?
That's it, man. This has been a fun thing to review, if not watch. But next week we are going to be back with our Andor 7, 8, and 9, and then or what we said we're going to do Perfect 10s.
Yeah, we can go ahead and do Perfect 10s this week.
Awesome. So I've been really looking forward to that episode. Yes. Some of this is not a review.
Yeah, something that's not a review. And we get to talk about good shit.
Yeah, and then after that, we're going to go right back into our Fantastic Four stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then before long, here in just a couple weeks, we'll be done with Andor Season 2. Mm-hmm. Actually, in 2 weeks. And then in like 3 weeks, we're going to be done with Last of Us Season 2. We're really going to have to time that shit, though, so that we aren't reviewing Last of Us like Season 2 Part 2 on like a Monday and then like doing Fan Forstic on a Wednesday.
Oh, boy.
Because I don't know that I can.
Fan Forstic is going to have to be on like a Friday.
Yeah.
Where like maybe we don't have work the next day.
Yeah.
And there's alcohol involved.
Yeah, correct. Because, oh man.
Oh, yeah. But then also in June, even though Marvel isn't talking about it, we have Ironheart to review.
Is the fact that they're not talking about it like, does that just tell you that they have absolutely no faith in it?
I don't know what else to take from that. They don't want to spend the money on marketing to market this show. And on one hand, I am actually, a little upset. Like, man, like one of the few shows that's like black centric and black led, like at least give the show and this character a chance to shine before you guys flush it away. And on the other hand, I'm like, y'all made this shit knowing that it probably wasn't going to be good,
right? And are choosing to still put it out knowing it ain't going to be good.
Yeah,
maybe we're wrong. Maybe they went back and did a lot of reshoots or something, and maybe it's more Thunderbolts than it is Brave New World. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Or it could be way worse than either one of those.
Oh dear. Damn, man, we gonna see. They've done so many different changes with this because at first, like, they weren't gonna do an Ironheart show, and then they're gonna do like an Armor Wars TV show, and then an Armor Wars movie, and then the Armor Wars TV show, and then no Armor Wars, and then and then an Ironheart TV show.
Do you think that Rhodey will at least be in this? I mean, he's got to be, right?
If for nothing else, so we can at least see him again.
Yeah, I mean something.
Yeah,
but please, like, like,
because he's not in Doomsday either, is he?
No, not that. No, I don't think so.
They gotta do something with Rhodey.
Man, this is like at the end of the episode, so maybe I won't embarrass her too bad. But I gotta shit on the homie Lauren real quick. Oh, no. I gotta clown on her just a bit. So the other day so her and the homie Dylan went to go see Sinners last night.
Oh yeah. And
before they went to the movie, she was telling me, she was like, yeah, because, I said the same thing I say to everybody, like, hey, don't really watch any trailers if you can. Go in blind. Like, I promise you the movie's going to be good. And she's like, I don't really know anything about it, but apparently Josh Allen's fiance is in it. And I was like, so who the fuck is that?
And that took me a second.
Yeah, right, yeah. Okay, right. It took me more than a second. I had to ask. I don't know who the fuck that is. And then she was like, oh, he's like the quarterback for whatever team he's the quarterback for. And I was like, oh, yeah, my interest is waning quickly. And I was like, so I started like trying to put it together, like, I have known nothing about this dude. I never heard of this person before yesterday. And I was like, I know goddamn sure you're not referring to Haley Steinfeld as some dude's fiance.
Which is blasphemous.
And she goes, oh, what is she in?
God damn.
To which I quickly posted gifs of Kate Bishop and of Gwen.
Yeah. Both
of them. Arguably, probably two of the best. But between her and Florence Pugh, some of the best female superhero roles over the last couple of years.
Facts.
And I mean, she killed it as both of those characters.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, like, she could still do a Gwen IRL. Although, I don't know if I could ever look at her the same way again after Sinners.
That's going to be difficult.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, she can suck a dick.
Oh, you can tell.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't pull that out, that performance out, and you not. Yeah.
I never, ever really thought about her sexually until that movie. And then now I'm not 100% sure I could turn that page. I don't know if I could turn that setting off.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't know if we can just go back to her being a Hawkeye. Yeah, it's gonna be difficult. Like,
yes,
I can't look at you the same after the dirty shit you said to Michael B. Jordan. I can't just turn back time.
No, and I'll be honest, man. If they didn't fuck Offset, then like maybe they're both just that good at acting. But goddamn.
Yeah.
She is bad in that movie.
Bruh, yeah, she is.
To the point that I didn't know that's who it was. Like, yeah, I was like, are you fucking serious? But yeah, like, I started explaining to Lauren, I was like, this is like a Taylor Swift situation. Like, like, this girl is more famous than this dude is.
Yeah.
She's been in all kind of shit. Mm-hmm. She does kill it in that movie, though.
She does, man. And again, great movie. Fucking great movie. You know that the topic that we discuss is great when we start with Sinners and then we end with Sinners. But,
yeah.
But this was about The Last of Us.
Right, yeah. Well, we have to have a little bit in there to...
That's true. That is true. Sinners is great, though. So.
It is. It is, yeah. Absolutely.
Well, with that being said, homies, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Hopefully you guys have, if nothing else, enjoyed this review, as the homie Caleb put it earlier. But we're going to go ahead and get out of your hair. We have given you guys so much content. So indulge and enjoy. I bet we will be back with even more. So,
you know, there's somebody out there that listens to us on their way to work. Mm-hmm. They only got like a 10-minute commute.
Yeah.
And they're just like, guys, like,
I'm never going to.
I'm never going to catch up.
Well, drive slower.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just ride around the block a couple times. Go sit in the parking lot on your lunch break. Take the homies with you. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on everything. Pop some headphones in at work.
Absolutely. And if you guys are still here, I forgot to say this earlier. Check out our merch store. Link in the description.
The merch store is awesome, but that shit with the homie Dylan that you did on that short was fucking hilarious. If you guys haven't seen it, go on the YouTube and the short section and watch it. Yeah, he's like he like snaps and he's like, yeah, there's the link. And Dylan's like, I missed it. And you're like, oh, you missed it? I'll do it again. And like, it's fucking hilarious.
Really quickly about that, I had finished because that episode was like 3 hours long. I had finished editing that episode. I had finished rendering it, and I was uploading it to YouTube. And I was like, I forgot the shit about the merch. So I went all the way back just to put that shit in there.
It was worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it. Yeah.
It was worth it.
All right. Well, homies, we will see you guys again very soon. But until next time, my name is Superhero Homie Q.
And I'm Superhero Homie Caleb.